Hey guys. All right. This video is going to be a little long, but the topic that I'm covering, there's just so much information and so much misinformation out there. I really got into the details down to the nitty-gritty, the original language, the words, and I'll present some of that to you today. So today we're going to be studying the Antichrist. All right, the first thing I want to cover is the word Antichrist. You know, in a modern English, when I say I am let's say I'm anti-fishing, okay? I'm anti-fishing, which I'm not. I love to fish. I love to eat fish. I don't fish for sport. I don't do catch and release. When I want to eat some fish, I'll go catch some fish and I'll eat the fish that I catch. Sustainable. But anyways, anti-fishing means I'm against or opposed to fishing. Well, in the original Greek, when the New Testament was written, anti did not mean opposed to or against. Anti meant in place of, replacement for whatever the word was before. So Antichrist is actually the replacement for Christ, or a substitution for Christ, right? So I just want to get that out there. You know what I mean? Like, the Antichrist is not somebody who's just going to stand up and be like, oh, I'm against you, God. The Antichrist is somebody who's going to stand up and be like, I am God. All right, so I made a list of 13 different things, attributes of the Antichrist, and we're going to cover them all. The first one is probably the longest, but that involves a lot. I had to do so much research. The item number one took me days to fish through all the mumbo jumbo of the secular world to actually get down to the truth. All right, because you can type in 666 or Antichrist in Google and get millions of responses. And you just have to weed through them to figure out which ones are which, you know. So item number one, he will arise out of the revised Roman Empire. All right. He will arise out of the revised Roman Empire. And the main reason that I'm making this video is not because it's important for us to know who the Antichrist is. It's important. But really is I'm trying to counter the indifference and the ignorance of people. All right? So ignorance, I don't mean I'm not calling anybody stupid or uneducated. All I'm saying by ignorance is just that you don't know. Okay? And that I still don't know everything. You know, there's items on this list where I am going to say, here's as much information as I can give you, but other than that, I don't know. You know, it's gonna be what it is, you know, and the Antichrist is somebody who's gonna come on the world stage, and not at first he's not gonna be easily recognizable. He's gonna seem like sort of like a hero of the day, I guess you could say. Like a knight in shining armor. Okay? So the revised Roman Empire. What does the Roman Empire consist of? All right? There's a lot of thinking today which is limited. That the revised Roman Empire and the Antichrist is Europe and the Catholic Church. And while that is true in part, it's not true. See, the Roman Empire, right here, okay, the Roman Empire is twice the size of that. You know what I mean? So the Roman Empire, when it reached its peak, was in 285 AD. The leader of the Roman Empire split it into two. You had the eastern part and the western part. The eastern part turned into Constantinople, which turned into all the Middle Eastern countries that we have today. The western part turned into Europe, and the Roman government itself consolidated itself into the Catholic Church. You know, the Bishop of Rome is the Pope. The leader of Rome is the Pope. You know what I mean? So like, it's still the Roman government. It's just looks different. Okay, so right now we're talking about, so the western part of the Roman government has been revised, but the whole Roman Empire has not fully been revised. Now, right now, Turkey and their president Erdogan is posturing to bring back the power of the Islamic Caliphate. Okay, the Islamic Caliphate was dismantled in 1923. It's been almost 100 years. Okay? And it was part of the Ottoman Empire, which is the longest standing empire in world history. Erdogan recently went into a church that was built in Turkey in the 6th century. Okay? And he took it over and he remade it into a mosque. Here's what he said. The resurrection of the Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia is the name of the church that he turned into a mosque. Represents the footsteps of the will of Muslims across the world to come out of the interregnum. The interregnum is like the time between governments. All right. So the government was dismantled in 1923 and now they're trying to rebuild it. So the time in between those governments is the interregnum. And the reignition of the fire of hope of not just Muslims, but all the oppressed, wronged, downtrodden, and exploited. And we're going to cover that here in a minute, his statement. All I'm saying is this is him stepping up saying it's the will of Muslims. It's not the will of God. It's not the will of anything. It's the will of Muslims coming together. Okay, taking things over. All right, so the whole eastern side, northern Africa, up through Jerusalem, up through Turkey, and I believe Saudi Arabia, would be the caliphate. All right, so that will restore the entire Roman Empire. Because they'll be working together. Okay? So it will be restored. And the Antichrist will... Sorry, there was a fly. The Antichrist will come out of that arrangement. Now, yeah, they will be working together, but the strength and the power will come from wherever the Antichrist is from. Okay? So the false prophet is going to rise from the revised Roman Empire, and the Antichrist is going to come from the revised Roman Empire. Now, this is what I think. The Catholic Church is going to be the false prophet. The Catholic Church is going to be endeavoring to please the Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to come across with a government that will be... hang on. I have it. Sorry. It will be blasphemous. It will be tyrannical. It will require... This is why I think that the Antichrist is going to come from the east side of the Roman Empire where the Muslims are, from a Muslim background, because it will require absolute submission in financial, spiritual, and political matters. All right? So he's going to want the entire world to absolutely submit in financial, spiritual, and political matters. This is why you're not going to be able to buy or sell. This is why you're going to be forced to worship the beast. This is why you're going to be killed if you don't do those things. All right? So there will be pockets of resistance to this endeavoring throughout the world. I think that America is not in the Bible. America is not in Bible prophecy. But I do believe that a huge amount of this resistance is going to come from America. America! We are a country of people who are inherently resistant to authority, especially this type of authority. So Islam is the only religion I can think of that requires absolute submission in those three areas. So, back to what I was saying. So, he's gonna have the revised Roman Empire, but he's also going to have alliances with countries. Like, he's going to have the false prophet, which is the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has 1.3 billion people baptized into their religion. 1.3 billion people. And that was 2018. That's more than 1/7 of the world's population. And the majority of those countries are below the southern hemisphere. So you're talking Mexico, Central America, South America. You know, those are all very Catholic countries. All right? And he's going to have all of them on his side. So he's going to have all of Europe, Northern Africa, the Middle East, South America, Mexico, Central America. He's going to have a lot of power because he's going to have all these people on his side. So he's going to have alliances with Gog, which is Russia. He's going to have alliances with China, with India. This is called the red-green axis. So Islam is teaming up with communism, okay, to create all this power. So you're going to have Russia, China, India, Africa, Europe, South America. All these countries are going to be with him. That's almost the entire world. That is almost the entire world. And the countries he can't control through religion, he's going to control through money. And that's America. Okay? He's going to control us with money. And look at what's happening with this pandemic. You know, I look at this pandemic and what I see is not a disease that just showed up in history and swiped through the world and barely killed anybody. I mean, it killed a lot of people, and I'm sorry to those who lost loved ones. My girlfriend lost her cousin to COVID, okay? I'm not belittling those people at all. What I'm saying is that this disease is not as lethal as they made it out to seem. You know, when it first hit America and they shut down everything, they were like, millions of people are going to die. Only like 100,000 people have died. It's 1 in 100,000 people that get it die. 1 in 100,000 people. And all of those people who die were going to die already. They had other diseases that were killing them. COVID just sped it up. I think it was made to financially cripple the world. Look at what happened. As soon as this virus came, America started spending trillions of dollars. Okay? It shut down the entire world economy. Everything stopped. China produces 1/3 of the world's goods. Stopped producing goods. Stopped shipping goods. Everything stopped. We are headed for a serious financial crisis, ladies and gentlemen. You need to be ready because it's going to be worse than the Great Depression. It's going to be awful. It's going to be hard. And we're going to need to stick together. We're going to need each other to get through this because this is only the beginning. Am I saying this is the beginning of the tribulation? I don't know. We'll know that when the stars start falling from the sky. When asteroids start colliding with Earth. That's when we know we'll be in the tribulation. The next point. He's going to be a deceiver. 2 John 1:7. Let me pull that up. I'm in the interlineal Bible, so I'm looking at the original language, what words they used, and the meaning of those words. Okay, so he's going to be a deceiver. 2 John 1:7. For many deceivers have entered into the world, those not confessing Jesus Christ coming in the flesh. This is the deceiver and the antichrist. Now, what I think John is trying to say here, what he's trying to get at here, when he says coming in the flesh, my personal opinion, I think he's addressing Gnosticism. There are people who say that Jesus didn't actually have a physical body. That he was sort of like, I guess, like a hologram. But he's also saying about the resurrection. There's people who say that his resurrection wasn't a physical resurrection. That his body didn't resurrect with him, but it did. Why was the tomb empty? You know what I mean? So, I'm going to real quick look at the word flesh, okay? Those not confessing Jesus Christ coming in flesh. The word for flesh is sarki, and it means body, human nature, or materiality, okay? So it's talking about a physical form. So those who don't believe that Jesus Christ came in the physical form, whether it was being born into physical form or resurrecting into physical form, these people are influenced by the Antichrist, the deceiver. So the word, it uses deceiver twice in this part of scripture, in this verse. There you go. Sorry, my brain just stopped working. So in this verse, so the first one it uses is planoi. Planoi is plural. It's masculine plural, and it straight up just means an imposter or a misleader. Okay, an imposter. That's the word that I would use right now, is imposter, because antichrist, remember we talked about what anti means. He's trying to put himself in the place of. So he's an imposter because he's trying to claim to be God. He's trying to claim to be Jesus. So he's trying to say that Jesus didn't really come in the flesh, that his body wasn't real, that he's not real. I love coffee. That one's creme brulee flavored coffee. It's so good. Anyway, the second word it uses is plenos. Plenos is masculine singular, and it also, it means the exact same thing. All right? So many imposters have entered into the world, and this is the imposter. All right? So the imposter is the imposters. The deceiver is the deceivers. So the spirit of the Antichrist has been on the earth this whole time, deceiving people. Of course it has. You can look in the Old Testament and see the times where the Antichrist or Lucifer has deceived people, okay? And I'm going to give you only one example because we don't have time. This is going to be a long video. So the example I'm going to give you is Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah were in the desert. They were old, old. Abraham was like 100 years old. Sarah was probably around the same age. And God promised Abraham a son, the promised son, Isaac. Abraham and Sarah got impatient, so Sarah gave Abraham her maid, Hagar. Abraham married Hagar, went into her, and produced Ishmael. Right after that happened, Sarah produced Isaac. Okay, so Abraham sent Ishmael off into the desert with Hagar. Now, the devil deceived Sarah and Abram into thinking that they needed to do something themselves to make what God said happen. So that's what they did. And they created Ishmael. Funny enough, the Islamic religion also believes this story, but they believe that they are descendants of Ishmael and that Ishmael is the promised son. This is what the whole battle is over. Isaac and Ishmael. This is why Islam hates the Jews so much. Because of the story of Isaac and Ishmael. Because the Muslims believe that Ishmael was the promised son. So, in Daniel 9:27, it talks about him being signing a treaty, a peace treaty, and then breaking it. So he's going to be a deceiver. And he's going to be a deceiver in different ways. And for the first 3.5 years of the tribulation, he's going to be deceiving the entire world. But the last 3.5 years, his truths are going to come out. Okay? You're going to see it even more clearly. And it's literally going to be hell on earth. His attempt to bring hell on earth. Earlier when I read that statement by Erdogan, he said the resurrection of the Hagia Sophia represents the footsteps of the will of Muslims across the world to come out of the interregnum and the reignition of the fire of hope of not just Muslims, but of all the oppressed, wronged, downtrodden, and exploited. Okay. I'm not saying that the president of Turkey is the Antichrist. I don't think that he is. I think he's creating the world system that's going to bring the Antichrist to light. But this is an example of the type of deception that the Antichrist is going to commit. All right? So he says, the resurrection of the Hagia Sophia represents the footsteps of the will of Muslims across the world to come out of the interregnum and the reignition of the fire of hope. That's the truth. Here's the deception. Of not just Muslims, but of all the oppressed, wronged, downtrodden, and exploited. Okay, so he added that part to make himself seem like he's on this worthy mission. And you can hear that in his words. But when you see his actions, and this is going to be exactly like the Antichrist, all right? His words are not going to match his actions. That's why he's a deceiver. He's going to say one thing and do another. So Turkey's president is saying that he's trying to reignite the fire of hope for the oppressed, the wronged, the downtrodden, and the exploited. But you can look just alone at what he did in Syria. I believe it was 2018 or 2019. What he did. He was exploiting, oppressing, wronging, downtrodden all these people. He was committing genocide. Racial, ethnic cleansing. That's the type of deception that the Antichrist is going to commit. He is going to be a man. A human man. That's my next point. 2 Thessalonians 2:3. The word that says he's going to be a man in Greek is anthropos. It's used 123 times in the New Testament, and every time it's translated as a man, referring to a male human figure. Just a side note. There's 13 books in the New Testament attributed to Paul. All scholars can agree for sure 100% that Paul wrote 7 of them. 2 Thessalonians is one of the books that is in question on whether it's been authored by Paul. But out of all the books that are in question, it offers the least amount of evidence for inauthenticity. All right, it was written right after the first one was written, and it addresses a lot of the same issues that the first one addresses. It was written by Paul. Moving on. The next step is that he is a homosexual. All right. This one was really, really difficult for me to wrap my mind around. And it's not difficult for me to wrap my mind around the fact that the Antichrist is going to be gay. It doesn't really matter to me, to my salvation, to my eternity, whether he likes men or women or both. All right? It's not really that important, to be honest with you. And there's only one verse in the Bible that anybody can use to say that the Antichrist is going to be a homosexual. And it's in the King James Version of Daniel 11:37. We're going to talk about this, and I'm going to entertain this, okay? But understand that Um, just understand that this is going to be we're just going to look at it really quick and then leave, because I was so confused by this that I called and talked to pastors. I talked to 5 different pastors about this, and all of them said, I don't know. None of them could reconcile what I'm about to tell you. And that's fine. You know what I mean? Because the Bible tells us that there's going to be things that we're not going to know. There's going to be things we're not going to understand, but that we just need to have faith. So here it is. He's a homosexual. Daniel 11:37 of the King James Version. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. Nor the desire of women. That sounds like he's gay. Now, if we go to the English Standard Version, which is extremely literal, okay? It says, he shall pay no attention to the gods of his fathers, gods plural, or to the one beloved by women. He shall not pay attention to any other god, for he shall magnify himself above all. Or to the one beloved by women. Like, see, that's the part that I couldn't understand. You know what I mean? Like, what does that even mean? Why is the difference in translation so drastically different? So here's what I did. I went to the original language. All right. All right, right here. Daniel 11:37 in the original Hebrew. And the God of his fathers, neither he shall regard, nor the desire of women. And any God, nor regard for above all, he shall exalt himself. It sounds a little mixed up and discombobulated because it is. Hebrew is a strange language. Ancient Hebrew is really strange. So we're going to look at the words that they use in here, okay? And the God of his fathers. All right. The God is the word Elohi. Elohi is, it means the God, but it is masculine plural. So sometimes it can be like the ESV, my Bible, says the gods of his fathers that he won't regard. This says the God of his fathers. So, I don't know. So we're looking at whether he's gay or not. Nor the desire of women. So we're going to look at the desire is one word and of women is one word. So we're going to look at 2 words. All right. The first word we're going to look at is the desire. Chemdat. I know I said that wrong. It only occurs 4 times in the whole Bible. It's translated as valuable, goodly, desirable, and wealth. Or desire and wealth. The next word is nasim. Nasim is of women. It occurs 55 times in the Bible and in the Old Testament. And it's feminine plural. All right, so the desire is feminine singular and of women is feminine plural. So he has no regard for the one desire of all the women. Okay. Now here's what I came to as far as my conclusion goes. Okay. It doesn't matter whether we can biblically prove that the Antichrist is a homosexual. Because here's the thing. He's going to put himself up as God. He's going to do everything that he wants to do. If he wants to be with a man, he's going to be with a man. If he wants to be with a woman, he's going to be with a woman. I think he's going to be both. I think he's going to be straight and gay. I mean, it's just, he's going to be whatever he wants to be. And I don't think it matters. Honestly, I don't. Is he going to be gay? I don't know. He might be. He could be. It's possible. Okay. So anyways, back to Daniel 11:37. The next point that I'm going to make is that he will be from a spiritual family. Here's what I came to learn about that. All right, so the God of his fathers, Elohi, occurs 398 times in the New Testament. Every single time it is translated as God or the God. One time out of those 398 times, it is translated as goddess. That's in 1 Kings 11:5. You can figure that one out. I don't know. There's another time, 1 Kings 11:33. I didn't write down what it's translated as. So the other word it uses when it talks about he shall not have regard for any other God and shall exalt himself above them all, that God is Elohua. Elohua is in the Bible 30 times, and regardless, it's a little g God. So regardless of how many gods his family worshipped, whether it was one God or multiple gods, he's going to know exactly who the God of Israel is. He's going to know who Jesus is, because he's going to go into the temple and he's going to proclaim him to be that one God. He's going to go after the people of God. He has hate in his heart for Christians and Jews. He's going to cut off our heads. He knows who God is. He knows exactly who God is. He knows all kinds of stuff about God because he's claiming to be God. He's doing the stuff that God does. His miracles, his signs, his words. He is setting himself up to be worshipped as God. All right, here's the next one. This is another one that you have to take it with a grain of salt because we just don't know. His number is 666. The number 6 is the number of man because man was made on the 6th day. 666 represents the ultimate manifestation of man. Okay? So, Revelations 13:18 says that we need to calculate this number. And the word that it uses for calculate is sephisato, which I know I butchered that word. And it means to recon, to compute, to count, to calculate. It's from the word spesos, which means to use pebbles in enumeration. This is the only time in the entire New Testament that this word is used. John did that a lot. John liked to use unique words. And the word that they use for number is arithmon, and it occurs 5 times in the New Testament, but only once outside of the book of Revelations, and that's in John 6:10. There's a couple theories out there on what 666 could mean. One of them is that Nero's name equals 666, which is fine. Also, if you scan the original Greek of the New Testament, there's only one word in the entire New Testament that has the value of 666, and it's the word paradoxes. I know I said that wrong. It occurs 13 times in the New Testament, and it means tradition. And every time it's used in the New Testament, it portrays tradition as bad. tradition. The Catholic Church is full of tradition. Islam is full of tradition. Tradition. You know, Jesus was complaining. Think about it. Jesus was complaining to the Pharisees. They were teaching the traditions of man as the law of God. Tradition is 666. That's just a theory, though. You know, I don't know for sure. But like I said, there's a couple theories out there. The next one is that he will perform miracles and signs by the power of Satan. And we get that from 2 Thessalonians 9 through 10. So the original Greek says that he's coming in every power and in signs and in wonders. It does not say that he's coming with the power of Satan, but he's going to be doing this according to the works of Satan. So he's going to be following Satan's lead. He's going to be doing what Satan does. He's going to be in the power of Satan. So if I say that I'm coming to you in the power of Christ, that doesn't mean that I'm coming to you with God's power, that I have the same power and abilities that God has. No, that means I'm coming to you in the power, that his power surrounds me. His power is in my life, and I'm expressing that power to you. That's how he's going to be with Satan. So the word working, right? Like he's going to be, well, let's look at it. 2 Thessalonians 2, 9 through 10. I've got it right here, sorry. 2 Thessalonians 2. Oh, my computer's so slow. Second Thessalonians 2. I'm sorry, my computer's so slow. 9 through 10. Okay. So 9 starts off like this. Who is coming according to the working of Satan in every power and in signs and in wonders of falsehood. All right, so the working, it's according to the working of Satan. The word that they use, the working, is energian. It's an action, productive work, activity, confined to superhuman activities. It occurs 7 times in the New Testament. It's translated as works, working, exertion, activity, influence, strength. In every power. So the word power is dyname. Dyname occurs 26 times in the New Testament. 5 times it's translated as might. 1 time it's translated as strength. And the other 20 times it's translated as power. So he's coming in the might. He's coming in the strength. He's coming in the power of Satan. I think basically what it's saying is that he's going to be representing Satan. So everything that he is, everything Satan is. Okay? In power and in signs. The word that they use for in signs is semiois. I completely demolished that word. That's only used 4 times in the New Testament, and all times are talking about acts that only God can do. And it coincides with wonders. All right, so he's going to be doing things, and things are going to be accompanying him that most people can think only will happen if he was God. He's going to make himself look like he is God. I don't know what those miracles are going to be. But I know who God is. And God is not a human being that just shows up to fix the day. Jesus was a human being that's going to show up to destroy and then rebuild. He's going to save the people who love him. The next point is that he will desecrate the temple. Now, for all you end time prophecy fanatics who are like, oh, we're in the end times, the world's coming to an end, it's going to happen. It's not just going to happen. You know, there's certain things that need to take place in order for it to just happen. You know, we talked about the revived Roman Empire, how the entire Roman Empire has to come together, not just half of it. Now we're talking about him desecrating the temple. He can't desecrate the temple unless there's already a temple for him to desecrate. So there has to be a third temple built for him to desecrate it. All right, and the Jews are looking to rebuild the third temple. They're waiting on a red cow, and I think that's it. Once they find the red cow, like, they already have all of the utensils made, they already have all of the building material, they have everything they need to build it and to start animal sacrifices again. They're just waiting on this red heifer. The next one. He will appear to rise from the dead. Just a little funny side note. When I was doing my research for this, I found that in the book of Revelations, where it uses the word beast talking about the antichrist, it's using the word theriau. I don't know if I know I didn't say that right, which is actually a diminutive form of the word thera. Thera means dangerous animal. So they're basically like, this beastie weastie, this cute little beast, look at him, little bitty beast. You know, it's funny to me. They're making fun of him because he's already lost. Like, I don't know what the devil's thinking that he can take over God's kingdom when he's a created being. God created him. Like, the created cannot overpower the creator. Like, it just doesn't make sense. You know, like, Lucifer's mind is just so clouded with pride and all kinds of stuff. So just all right, I'm sorry. I had to step away for a second. My blood sugar got real low. I had to eat and recuperate. So, Revelation 13:3. 25 times. All right, so I'm just going to start over. Why not? So, Revelation 13:3 is what talks about the Antichrist coming back to life. So it says, and one of the heads of it was as having been slain to death, and the wound of death of it was healed, and marveled all the earth after the beast. Okay. So whatever actually does happen here is going to make the world marvel at him. The world is going to worship him after this. Okay. Okay. So having been slain is one word. The word is esphagmeninen. I wish I could say these words. It only occurs this once. It's the only time that this is in the Bible. It's slay, kill by violence, slaughter, mortally wound, butcher, or maim. And this verse uses two different words for death. All right, so the first word for death was as having been slain to death. Thanaton. It occurs 25 times in the New Testament and always describes moving from a living state into death. So he's having been slain, that's your living state, to death. The second word for death, and the wound of death of it was healed, is thanatau. It's used to describe the type of wound that he will heal from. So it's a wound of death. It's a wound that caused death. Fly, sorry. It's used 53 times, and it's used as a result or a consequence of something that happened. Of it was healed. The words was healed comes from the word etherapathy, and that only occurs 3 times in the New Testament, and only once outside of the book of Revelations. It occurs in Matthew 17:18, and this is really important. It is translated in Matthew as cured. Here it's healed, but in Matthew it's cured. And it's used in a verse where Jesus is casting a demon out of a little boy. And this is why the world's going to marvel at him. Because it's going to be just like that situation when Jesus healed the boy from the evil spirit. All right, so the next one. He will be in power for 7 years. You know, we talked earlier about the deception, about how he's going to be a deceiver, and that's going to be mainly in the first 3.5 years. The last 3.5 years, Revelation 13:5, the last 3.5 years, he's given power to do all kinds of horrible atrocities to mankind. The next point. He will behead the saints of God. Revelation 20, verse 4. I'll go ahead and pull that up. This is important. Revelation 20, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given to them. This is the original text. This is not anything but the original. And the souls of those having been beheaded because of the testimony of Jesus and because of the word of God, and those who did not worship the beast. All right, so having been beheaded is one word. Pepelekismenon. We're just going to say that's right. And that literally means to behead with an axe. It's a derivative of the word pleso, which means to chop off, or to truncate, to turn into a trunk, right? Like you would do to a tree. They're going to cut our heads off if we don't worship them, or if we believe in God. They are going to decapitate us. He's going to have major influence in all of the world. He's going to control the economy. He's going to control governments. He's going to control religious systems. It's going to be a hard world to live in when he comes into power. All right, here's the last one. He's going to make everybody take his mark. So the mark of the beast. Is it a national ID? No. Is it a chip in your hand? Could be. Here's the thing. There's been some research done on it, and people think that it's actually going to be something that's going to be on the skin, not in the skin. There's something new that came out called a quantum tattoo. Look them up. Figure out what it is. I think that eventually you will have to have something like that to buy, sell, and trade, get rid of credit cards and bank accounts and debit cards, and they're trying to move away from cash. You know, they've gone so far as only 3% of the world's money is cash. 97% of our money is electronic. It's not even real. It doesn't even exist. But I think that the mark is a lot more than a physical mark. I think it's a choice between God's law and man's law. So you're going to get the mark on your right hand or your forehead. In the Bible, your right hand symbolizes your actions. Your forehead symbolizes your convictions. So your actions and your convictions will fall in line with the Antichrist. And that will be how he marks you, by your actions and your convictions, how you think and what you do. What you think and what you do are going to be so crucial to your eternity. Even now they are. But during this time period, you really need to pay attention to your thoughts and your actions. What you believe and what you do. That's the mark of the beast. Do you follow his law or do you follow God's law? Do you do his thing or do you do God's thing? It's up to each one of us as individuals. Well, I hope that I helped you in some way, shape, or form with this video. God loves you. God bless you. Keep studying. Don't stop. Learn as much as you can. Till next time. See you later, guys.